Welcome to the Go Shout Love podcast. My name is Seth Carnell. Today we are talking to Melly and Matt, the parents of Silas, an amazing boy with an incredible smile. Silas has many diagnoses. I apologize if I mispronounce some of these. Some of them are spastic quadriplegia. He has cerebral palsy, epilepsy, microcephaly. He has HIE, and a number of other diagnoses to go along with those. In this episode, you will hear about one particular diagnosis which was very difficult to determine and a very unique one to identify, Neurostorming. You will also hear an authentic couple with a compelling honesty about their life and their journey. With me is Jessica Santo, our talented photographer and family relations director. You will also hear Silas in the background. And please take a moment to rate and review us on the Apple Podcast. It will help us continue to shout love for families like this. Hope you enjoy the conversation.
Okay. You go ahead.
Okay, what was that last thing that you said he was diagnosed with?
Neurogenic Storming. It has a lot of different names to it. Dystonic Storming, Neurostorming.
So what does that mean?
So
I've not heard that one
basically,
yet.
in a nutshell, it's an irritable brain. And a lot of kids who have traumatic brain injuries at birth and hypoxic events at birth can actually have this, but it is really hard to diagnose.
Why?
So it's hard to diagnose because they have to do test after test after test, and then they're kind of out of answers. And finally, they come down to a diagnosis. He was actually misdiagnosed 2 or 3 times when we were trying to find the diagnosis, and some of what he was misdiagnosed with it's very common as they get down to the diagnosis. But the really crazy part is I had told the doctors probably 2-3 years ago, this is what I think it is, and they said no, he's not showing all symptoms of neurogenic storming. He's only showing some. So it's it's just really hard to get a doctor to believe in you and hear what you're saying and, trust that what you're saying is the truth and, is actually happening to him.
They just want to call it behavioral most of the time.
Yeah, a lot of times it is diagnosed as misdiagnosed as a behavioral. They sent him to a psychiatrist and thought, well, he's nonverbal, he's probably just frustrated, or it must be his muscles, his spasticity is acting up and his muscles are hurting, and that's how he's showing his pain.
With all those other diagnoses laid on top of that, that must have been really hard to...
It is. And the crazy thing is, that shows the importance of social media is, I went to Facebook and I put up videos that were hard for people to watch on his page, and I told everyone the struggles we were going through, and people came back with us oh, this is definitely storming. This is storming. Ask your neurologist. And it's every time I did, they just denied it. They were no, he's not. He doesn't have a temp when he's doing it, or he's not doing this. So
what does he do when he's storming?
Oh gosh. So
was it what was going on at the library, or was he just frustrated?
That's way a very mild, mild version of it. Okay. Yeah. So he it starts out kind of slow at first sometimes, and sometimes it starts out full force. But he basically starts having dystonic movements, which is flailing of the arms, and then he'll start hand biting and kind of self-injuring, and then it's almost there's a glaze over him, and you can't get through to him. You can't distract him out of it. He's sweating.
Going 100 miles an hour.
Oh yeah, it's like he's running a marathon. It looks like he's trying to crawl out of his own skin.
I wonder how many kids out there are having this issue and they haven't figured out what it is yet.
I think a lot, because so many have reached out to me since I've posted the videos.
Wow.
And
I'm sure that was really scary for you to do.
Definitely. It's hard because I got a lot of negative feedback.
Sure you did, yeah. And
why are you showing the world this? Why are you showing us his struggles? Why are you posting this. This isn't fair to him that you're posting this without his permission. It's like, well, I'm not going to get his permission, first of all. He's nonverbal, but I'm doing this for a reason, you know? Like, I need help. I know other people need help. And, you know, I don't regret posting about it because that's how we've gotten to where we are and getting a diagnosis and helping other families.
When you're breaking through what I would consider like the superficial layer of Facebook and social media. Break through that to get to the authenticity so you can actually be what it was meant to be.
Yeah. And like, I mean, maybe 2 or 3 people gave us negative comments. It's not like it was a slew of people, but, you know, it is hard to hear that and think, oh gosh, like, am I not doing the right thing, or do I regret this?
People need to see the true picture, though. It's not like these nice pictures of him smiling and videos of him laughing and enjoying it. Like, that's, you know, that's a portion of what his life's like, not just... That's not what it's like every second, you know?
Right.
And a lot of families, too, like a lot of special needs families, they're like, this kid is truly the happiest kid on earth. And I'm like, not ours. Ours is not happy all the time. Like, more than 50% of, I mean, you can hear him right now, more than 50% of his day is spent screaming and fighting this neurostorming. And then obviously I like to post his smile. It's amazing. So, but I do talk about it a lot because it is a struggle.
Treatment for storming, what do you do for that?
It's hard. So the neurologist, I really love our neurologist in Boston because she's like, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to acknowledge that this is hard for you. And just having her acknowledge it is, first of all, amazing. To have someone finally be like, I know this is hard for you. We're here for you. We'll try to do everything we can for you, but I have to tell you, this is really hard to treat. There aren't many treatment options, and it's a lot of trial and error. So, they use blood pressure meds.
Yeah, blood pressure med.
Because helps.
But that, I mean, you have to be careful with that too, because you have to monitor his blood pressure. And you know, he's had a couple of dips and gone pale.
Like near fainting, and because he needs to be in a stander every day to keep his hips healthy. And when he goes quick from that, like laying down to upright, then his blood pressure can do wonky things. So you got to be careful. But the blood pressure med, it does help a lot. It's almost like his body gets used to it, and then we have to wean him off of it and start over again. So it's a lot of up and down and up and down. We have it's usually cycles. Like there'll be 2 good weeks and 1 bad week, or 3 bad weeks and 1 good week. It's very unpredictable and weird cycling and just a lot of trial and error.
I can hear him in there.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Is that a good cry?
No. That's storming.
That's a little closer of a picture of
that's a little taste.
So since starting this entire journey from his birth, with all that you've kind of said so far about everything you've dealt with, is there one thing in particular that you could say, like, this has been the most challenging?
I would say it's probably the neurostorming.
Really?
Honestly,
100%.
just because you can tell that it affects him so greatly. You know, it takes away positive part. You know, I mean, he sleeps for somewhere around 10, 12 hours at night. So, you know, let's say it's 12 hours. And if he's mad for 6 of those 12 hours, then, you know, or even more, then, you know, it really limits what you can do during the day. What he can do during the day. Yeah. And, you know, that really is the biggest, I would say, that's the biggest challenge of all of it. Like, we'll take all the medications, we'll take all the extra care, like, 100%. Over, you know, that stuff's much easier than dealing with, you know, having your kid upset and not being able to do anything about it.
And the thing is, like, since he's been born, you're constantly being thrown different struggles your way. So kind of what Shelby said about Kennedy. Like, yay, we have a seizure win, but we also have a setback. So it's constantly like, oh, we have a new diagnosis, but now there's a setback. So going through all that, we kind of have the general mindset that, you know, we have to take this one day at a time. And we have to try to get through the day and survive the day. It's a lot of survival mode. And then finding something at the end of the day to hold on to that was a positive. So, he smiled before bed. That's a positive. I'm going to hold on to that to get me through this day, because there is so much negative that can come and be a burden and be a struggle, and you can really get down, and it's hard. So we try to find and talk through it and try to find something positive throughout our day that got us through.
So you say that you have found encouragement on social media, and that helps you get through some of these challenges. How do you get through it, Matt? What do you do to help you with all of this? I know you're a tattoo artist, so I'm sure you're creative and love what you do, so that has to be an outlet a little bit. Yeah,
it is big time. I'm very lucky where I have a career that really is, it's fully occupying, during the day. Of course, I think about Mel, I think about Silas, but I can always get lost in my art, so.
And you're probably hearing a lot of other stories as well. I mean, a tattoo is so personal, and I know that people come in with a story about it, so that probably helps you not escape what's going on, because you don't need to, but just kind of unwind a little bit.
Yeah, it does. It kind of, you can kind of sort of focus. Every tattooer, we all have kind of side jobs while we tattoo. It's, you be a friend, be a confidant, and be a therapist and all this stuff, and as well as trying to create a nice piece of art for this person forever. But sometimes when you have the day focusing on somebody else's problems, helping them figure theirs.
Where are you a tattoo artist at?
I'm at Underworld Tattoo Company in Salem, New Hampshire. So it's like 45 minutes outside of Boston. So.
I want to take a second to say that as a team, as the Go Shout Love team, we love introducing the world to these awesome families, but we also love helping them with real everyday needs. So we sell creative apparel, and half of all those proceeds go directly to the families. So please head over to our website, goshout.love, and purchase a t-shirt, a mug, a hat, or more. And each purchase in May will go towards a swing set with a special needs swing so Silas can play outside with his friends and his cousins. You can also start a monthly subscription and shout love for great families each month. Use the discount code PODCAST at checkout to save $5 on your first order when you start a subscription. Again, that's $5 off your first month with the discount code PODCAST at checkout.
So I wanted to ask you, both of you, or specifically Mel, a question, because I was recently having a conversation with someone about our past Go Shout Love videos, and we were featuring a kiddo who had SMA, and when the parents, as we do these these scripts, we have you guys describe their personality, and they had described him as ornery or as funny. And I was with someone that was having a hard time understanding, well, he's nonverbal. He's in a wheelchair. How is he ornery? Or how is he funny? Like, why are they saying that he's like that if he's, like, nonverbal? So you specifically saying that Silas is sneaky. So how can we, as staff members with Go Shout Love, or just as, to our friends, explain to them that these kids have amazing personalities. They just show it in different ways, is what I think. But how can we better explain that to people, like that they have these ways of showing this?
Yeah, it's a hard thing, because a lot of I'm not sure about that one child specifically, but Silas, for instance, he gets very sensory overwhelmed and overloaded out in the community, and a lot of people will be like, oh, he's sleeping, or he's this or that, and don't read a book by its cover, because once you get down on his level and give him the time to respond and slow down a little and take the time to really connect with him, he has such a funny personality. But it's something that if you don't spend enough time with him, you never know. You just say, he's not nonverbal, and looking at him at face value, you wouldn't, you don't see the full picture. But what I mean by, sneaky is he's so funny. He's a troublemaker. Like, he's
He loves to be in trouble.
He loves getting in trouble. Like, even if you're just faking getting in trouble with him, he loves to get in trouble if you say, Silas, no. Why'd you do that? He thinks it's hilarious.
He wants to be an ornery little boy.
Oh, yeah. He thinks it's hilarious. Like, and
then it's hard for you to be upset at him because
like, that's
having the best time.
Yeah, that's like what we do to make him laugh half the time is pretend he's getting in trouble.
Yeah, that's fun to do. And he'll do something, you tell him, no, don't do that, and then he'll laugh, and then he'll do it again, and
so
and
he knows what he's doing.
Oh, he absolutely knows, and he'll do that with you for however long. A lot of the times you can do the same thing with him for half an hour, and he'll enjoy every minute of it. But
And he is nonverbal, and a lot of people just see that as, they can't talk. How do you connect with them? Just because they're nonverbal doesn't mean, they don't have a personality. They don't have anything to say. Like, they have a lot to say. Silas, I could have a full conversation with him with just his 3 phrases that he says. He'll say, I do, I go, and what's the other one?
Sometimes no.
Sometimes he'll say no. Yeah, and you can have a full conversation with him with just those.
And with facial expressions and his hands and, not so much in like a sign language form, but, if he reaches for something or, reaches for you or, anything like that, just like she said, getting to know him, like as you're around him more, it becomes much more obvious, but you do have to slow your pace and, that's the trickiest part. I think that, typically as adults, the world works at a certain pace and you have to shift gears when you're dealing with kiddos like Silas and many others that you guys visit with. So
how have you shifted gears the most, do you think?
I mean, as Mel mentioned before, you just gotta focus on the good things and some of his milestones, although huge for him, are small in the scheme of things. For a typical kid, or as we like to call them, tippies.
When we hear tippies, that's a new one.
Oh yeah, we joke around with my friend. I'm like, I don't understand how to parent your tippy child. Like they are just crazy. I don't even know how to.
It's a different pace. You just have to. They're growing leaps and bounds, and
milestones
for a tippy is pretty. It's pretty different, So
it is.
We have a lot of our Go Shout Love kids call them inch stones instead of milestones.
Yeah, we call them inch stones.
Yeah.
But
that's pretty much. I would say that's probably
just slowing down.
Yeah, slow down and make sure you are slowed down enough to see those little things that a lot of times you could speed past.
Yeah.
It's hard, though. It's hard to get family to understand that, too.
I bet.
Yeah, even
we have
our
a lot of nieces and nephews, and
yeah,
it's hard, It's hard
I'm sure it can feel lonely.
It feels lonely because, you see grandparents react to their grandchildren and how exciting all these milestones for them are, but some of the little inch stones that Silas does gets passed by because and it's not their fault. It's just you got to change your view and how you see it and how you react and
if you're not involved with it 24 hours a day as we are, it's just a different world, and it's just something as special needs parents you have to understand. You have to understand not only other families, other people even in your family, but definitely strangers. It's a different mindset, and not everybody understands, and that's okay.
What would you tell, this is specifically for Matt, what do you tell a dad who's in the hospital with this diagnosis and he's holding his newborn and he's faced with this? What are you going to tell him?
Hang on tight, brother. It's gonna be a long road. I mean, it's just just stay focused on the present. It's hard to think about what this world is like. 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. Like, I think that the typical parents are looking at what some of those things are going to be like. Oh, I can't wait for this or that or whatever. You just have to, like we were talking about before, you just have to slow down, and you can't get caught up in like, oh, what's life going to be like in 5 years or 10 years or 15 years, because it doesn't necessarily get easier, Mm-hmm. And of course, every diagnosis is different. Every kiddo is different. Every parent is different, but, I would say just remember that, it's a wild ride, and, there's going to be points where your counterpart is the weak one, and there's going to be points where you're the weak one, and
we trade off.
Yeah, well, we've been very lucky where we've both had our our breaking points at different times. So the other has been able to sort of pull up and grab the slack.
That's amazing.
But But we're very lucky. A lot of people are not like that, and
it takes a huge toll on relationships.
Sure
Big
does.
time.
Yeah.
You got to have teamwork and communication. And one of the best things we ever did for ourselves is, during those times when it does get hard and when you're like, something's got to change, is we sat down and we were like, we've lost who we are as a couple without Silas. We've lost us in this. Mm-hmm. It's a lot of, surviving the day and feeling like roommates and just feeling like, passing chips in the night. Like
doing shift work.
You have to take time to remember how you got here and like how you came together. So what we did is we decided we're going to put it into our budget and we're going to have a date night every single week. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go out and it's going to be just us. And
that's good.
It is. My husband and I do that, and I tell all my friends, and I swear by it.
It's important. It's important because...
And a lot of special needs families, it's financially straining, so they're like, we can't afford that. Put it in your budget if that's the best thing you're going to do for you.
Yep.
It's just another medicine.
It's a good word.
And, and if you're taken away from, like an alternative therapy, for instance, that's going to cost a lot of money. Yeah, maybe they're getting one less hour of, alternative therapy that week, and you're using it for date night. That's going to benefit your child because they feed off of you and your energy. And if something's off with your rhythm, they're going to know. So
that's a great piece of advice.
You got to give yourself therapy in a way.
Yep.
Yeah, you still have to know each other outside of parenting because it's a different world. Step outside of that and take away responsibilities even for a couple hours, and then you can still have relaxed fun and remember that you guys are a team and together for a reason. So I think that was pretty important for us too.
Yeah, I remember after we started doing our weekly date nights, I was like, he still thinks I'm funny.
Oh,
I feel like we're flirting, and
it's
then
so important.
You just get home and it's refreshing. It's like a reset. You need that. So,
yeah.
Thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I really enjoyed our time with Melly and Matt. As always, please rate and review us on Apple Podcast. And once again, you can save $5 on your first order when you start a subscription to help families such as these. Just use the discount code podcast at checkout. And as always, as shouters, please go and continue shouting love.